midfielders. In terms of goalkeepers, Gary Neville clear that United need to sign one. Outside Bahindra starting in goal once again, despite the fact André Onana was fit, he was on the bench. Where do we stand in terms of United signing a goalkeeper in this window?
Well, the player that they're targeting, Senne Lammens, was not involved in the Royal Antwerp squad this weekend. It was their decision to remove the goalkeeper because of speculation surrounding his future. Talks continue with Manchester United over a deal for the 23-year-old. The deal on the table looks to be around £17.3 million. So, again, more investment from Manchester United. What's currently being discussed at the moment is the structure of the finance and the payment terms. So you'd imagine this one is going to progress over the course of this week. Then Manchester United get a new goalkeeper. Then they've got the question about what do they do with André Onana moving forward. Does he want to sit on the bench for the next 6 to 12 months? So, yeah, big questions about what happens next at Manchester United. But one of the positions that Gary Neville has cried out for, they're going to get a really talented young international goalkeeper, potentially, that could come in and improve Manchester United's goalkeeping department.
Mark says he's a talented young goalkeeper. Is he good enough, already enough, to come in and be United's number one?
I think there are question marks coming into that kind of environment because he's very calm. The mentality is good. Spoken to goalkeeping coaches about him, and he's been seen as a rising star in Belgian football for quite a while. But he was at Club Brugge and he couldn't get past him on Mignolet. He's been excellent for Club Brugge, a former Liverpool goalkeeper. The club could have conceded 14 more goals if he wasn't in goal, effectively.
There you go.
Looks like Manchester United could also be busy. They have players to sell and positions to fill. Yesterday, they drew 1-1 away at Fulham. And after the game...
So he went to Antwerp. If you look at his numbers last season, they were excellent. If you look at something called post-shot XG differential, it's basically how many shots is he saving that the data wouldn't expect him to save. And it was very, very high. Antwerp had one of the best defensive records in Belgium last season. So all of that stuff's great. But it's a huge leap to then suddenly be the number one at Manchester United. Like there that's been there for quite some time.
Just educate me on this Monday morning. Post-shot XG.
So basically, you have a plus or a minus, a post-shot XG. But one really interesting thing, when Ruben Amorim was at Sporting were very interested in Lammens then and were tracking him then. So there's obviously a differential. It's basically how many shots or how many goals are going in that the data either expects it to or not. So if you've got plus 14.5, which he had,
Gary Neville said the club must buy a midfielder before the transfer window closes.
There's a couple of things in the first half. I think that the goalkeeper still looking a little shaky or very shaky on those crosses from corners, which can't continue because it just, that anxiety builds. I've said it before. And then in central midfield, I think United have to do a piece of business now, because I would have liked to have thought that Mainu could step up and be that person. But it's quite clear that at this moment in time, Ruben Amorim's not having him. I mean, he starts with Casemiro, and because it's going to be a problem. The two in there, you know, really is sort of does get exposed when that front three are just a little bit more higher, and that back five sometimes get pushed back a bit. Those gaps, those acres of space seem to Bruno Fernandes. He then puts Mason Mount back in there, and then he brings Agati on in front of him, which tells you he's almost like fourth choice, really. And that means that they are going to need to, I think, get something sorted.
So last week, Gary Neville said that Manchester United need to sign a goalkeeper. Yesterday, he says they need to sign a midfielder. Mark, given the money spent already in this window, is it possible for United to go after a midfielder?
Manchester United have spent over...
To open up, and I thought United got cut through quite a few times in there in the second half, and I think Bruno Fernandes is part of that in there, and he's going to have to, he's have to sort it out.
£200 million so far in this summer, which is quite significant when Sir Jim Ratcliffe spent most of last season trying to shave costs, make staff redundant, try and make the operation a lot more streamlined, because there was a lot of staff there, so they're trying to be creative and clever with what they do, but they have spent significantly in revitalising that front three. New faces at the top end of the pitch. But now, it's funny, Gary Neville saying last week, need to sign a goalkeeper. Now he's saying, I need to sign a midfielder. It feels like they're the two areas of concern for Manchester United. They still have to respect the rules, and there has been a lot of spending there. Outgoings are going to be key between now and Monday, depending on how much they can generate there. But you'd imagine goalkeeper, a 6, someone who can bring energy and legs to that United midfield, which is going to be key. They have to be conscious of PSR, Manchester United, despite being one of those sides that turn over significant sums of money.
Do for Manchester United. He was taken off at half-time in Brighton's game against Everton yesterday, but Fabian Hertzler said it was tactical, nothing to do with injury, nothing to do with any speculation around Manchester United. Kevin, another player who's
they will still be in the market to sign players, but they're going to have to be creative financially. Maybe a loan with an obligation might be something they look at. But yeah, definitely two positions of concern for Ruben Amorim.
And Carlos Baleba feels like a slightly too expensive deal to merge Angelo Stiller from Stuttgart. He's a player of interest. There's not been any club-to-club contact, but would that be a good fit when you know what United are looking for in a midfielder?
I don't think so, actually. I really like him. And Stiller can just get on with it and set the tempo. Him alongside Bruno Fernandes, I don't think is that right fit in midfield. The other thing as well is that financially, great passer of the ball, sets the tempo of a game, can control a game, but actually has a minder at Stuttgart in Atakan Karatsor. He does all the dirty work. He does all the challenge at this either. So it just financially, in terms of fit, it's not a deal Stuttgart want to do. And they've dug their heels in with Nick Voltemade, not let him go to Bayern. They're not going to be bullied about